I have to be honest with you, when I first opened the file for today's deep dive, I uh I actually double-checked to make sure I hadn't accidentally downloaded a fantasy novel.
I can see why. The title is pretty out there.
Right, The Alchemy of the Sovereign Heart. Or in the original German, The Alchemy des souveränen Herzens. It just sounds like it should involve wizards, doesn't it?
It definitely has that mythical flair, but I think that's actually very deliberate. It's like a trap set by the author.
A trap.
Yeah, because once you get past that title, there are no dragons. Instead, you get hit with this incredibly dense, almost surgical mix of systems theory, depth psychology, and pop culture analysis.
It is the weirdest cocktail we have ever served. I mean, we're talking about a document that somehow weaves together Nicholas Luhmann's sociology, Taylor Swift's entire discography,
19th century medical autopsies.
and the philosophical difference between drinking beer and drinking tea. It's just wild.
And yet, and I think this is the key, there's a rigorous logic holding it all together.
Yeah.
Because it's a case study.
Right. The princess?
Princess Marie-Sophie von Merchant. But, before anyone tunes out thinking this is just royal gossip, we have to be really clear.
She's not the point.
Not at all. The text uses her strictly as a lens. She is a stand-in for a universal experience. Specifically, it frames her story around a rough ride in 2024.
That phrase, rough ride, it comes up a few times. It feels like code, you know? Code for a massive structural collapse of life as you know it.
Exactly. We're looking at the disintegration of identity after a major trauma or a heartbreak. So the mission of this deep dive isn't to analyze a princess.
No.
It's to answer a question that applies to anyone listening. How do you rebuild a sovereign self when the person you thought you were and the partner you thought completed you are suddenly gone?
It's identity work with a capital I. And the text suggests that you can't fix a modern heartbreak with just like one tool. You can't just get over it.
You have to rebuild the entire system of who you are, which is why we need such diverse sources. We need to look at the body, the mind, and the sociological structure of the self.
So let's start where the document starts, which is the physical body. There's a very specific and kind of disturbing axiom it opens with. It calls the body a loudspeaker.
This is a crucial concept. You have to grasp this before we even get into the psychology. The text argues that the body acts as a fail-safe for the mind.
A failsafe? How?
It creates what it calls a somatic resonance. Basically, if you're experiencing psychic pain betrayal, grief, a loss of direction, and you refuse to articulate it, or maybe you just can't illuminate it with your intellect.
Your body takes over the communication duties.
Exactly. So if you're ignoring your own misery, your body is going to stage a protest.
It's more than a protest, though, right? The text says it's a broadcast.
It is. The body screams what the mouth refuses to say. It manifests as illness, chronic pain, or that heavy, inexplicable discomfort we sometimes feel. And to prove this isn't just New Age fluff, the source brings in this fascinating, if gruesome, piece of medical history.
Oh, I bookmarked this section. It was so vivid. We're talking about the mad women of the 19th century.
We are. Historically, women who were deemed mad or hysterical were often they were inconvenient,
Yeah.
angry, refusing to conform.
So they were locked away.
They were. But here's the wild part. When doctors performed autopsies on some of these women, they found stony concretions inside their bodies.
Like literal stone.
Literal calcifications. Now, you have to imagine the mindset of a 19th century patriarchal doctor. He opens up this body, finds these stones, and says,
Uh-huh. Proof.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Here's the proof. These women had a hardened heart or a hardened mind. They were biologically flawed.
They used it to justify the label of madness.
Exactly. But our source document completely flips that. It argues that those stones weren't proof of a flaw. They were the physical manifestation of silenced truth.
Wow.
They were warnings, boundaries, and legitimate anger that had been swallowed for so long that they literally materialized into something solid.
That is such a haunting image. The idea that your unvoiced boundaries could calcify inside you until they're a physical weight.
It changes how you view illness, doesn't it? The text uses a German phrase here, platt zu hauen,
Which means?
roughly, to flatten or to smash something flat, like a blacksmith with hot iron.
Okay.
The argument is that the symptom, the illness, the pain, it isn't the enemy, it's a radical hint. The goal isn't just to cure it and go back to normal. The goal is to take that destructive energy, that stone, and flatten it, forge it into a productive life force.
So you don't ignore the madness.
You use the energy behind it. Which brings us to the modern reclamation of that mad woman trope, because the text draws a direct line to pop culture.
specifically to Taylor Swift.
It does, and it's a brilliant pivot. It analyzes her song Madwoman from 2020. Traditionally, in literature like Jane Eyre, the madwoman is Bertha Mason.
The woman locked in the attic.
Right. She's dangerous, wild, out of control.
Yeah.
The attic was a prison, a place to hide the family's shame.
But the text argues Swift changes that.
She changes the architecture of the metaphor. In Swift's narrative, the attic isn't a prison. It's a war room, a space for strategy. The text argues that society, and often gaslighting partners, will label a woman mad to invalidate her anger.
It's the ultimate dismissal, isn't it? Oh, don't listen to her. She's crazy. You hear it all the time.
All the time. It's a mechanism of othering. If she's crazy, you don't have to engage with her logic. The source even compares this to Daenerys Targaryen in Game of Thrones.
The Mad Queen.
Yeah. Here's a woman with a legitimate claim to power who faces betrayal after betrayal. But the moment she shows ruthless strength, the narrative brands her as mad.
So for the princess in our case study, and for you listening, what's the takeaway here? Is it just, it's okay to be angry?
It's deeper. It's that the rage you feel isn't a malfunction. It is a protective instrument. The text calls it a womb and war, an internal war to reclaim your integrity.
So the mad woman isn't a monster.
She's the guardian of your boundaries, the part of you that refuses to be gaslit.
I love that, turning the villain into the bodyguard. But the document suggests this whole external battle is driven by something deep inside our own psychology. We have to talk about Jung.
We do. This is the core of the identity work. To understand why that collapse in 2024 was so devastating, we have to look at the anima and the animus.
Okay, I've heard these terms thrown around, but let's define them properly for this context.
So in Jungian psychology, the animus is the masculine aspect inside the female unconscious. It represents logic, drive, assertion.
The ability to act on the world.
Exactly. And the anima is the feminine aspect, feeling, intuition inside the male unconscious. Now, in a sovereign person, these are integrated. You have access to both energies within yourself.
But that's the ideal state. That's not usually what happens when we fall in love.
No. In romance, we fall into the trap of projection. The source describes how we project these inner ideals onto a partner. We call them our soulmate, our twin flame.
So a woman might look at a man and think, he is my rock. He has the power and the logic that I lack.
She's outsourcing her animus to him. She is handing over her own inner power. She falls in love with a missing part of herself that she has pasted onto his face. She feels complete because he's holding the other half of her psyche.
So when that relationship fails...
It's catastrophic. And this explains the rough ride. When the partner leaves, it's not just a breakup. It is a disintegration. The projection collapses. You aren't just losing a partner.
You're losing your connection to your own agency because you gave it to him.
You did. And the source actually references a very dark poem here to show the danger of this Porphyria's Lover by Robert Browning.
That's the one where the lover kills the woman.
Yes.
Sorry.
He strangles her with her own hair. It's a metaphor for what the text calls the demon lover. If the animus is not integrated, if you keep looking for it outside yourself, it becomes possessive, destructive. It kills the princess to keep her as a perfect statue.
Okay, that is terrifying. So we have the diagnosis. We projected our power, the relationship collapsed, and now we're the mad woman in the attic. How do we fix it? The text mentions a process called kenosis.
Yes, this is the roadmap. It starts with disintegration, which we've discussed, the shattering. Then comes kenosis.
Which sounds kind of theological.
It is. It comes from Greek, meaning self-emptying. In this context, it's the death of the ego. It's realizing you can't control the external world. You have to let go. You have to surrender to the it.
The it.
The it, the unconscious. The raw life force that flows through you when you stop trying to steer the ship with your conscious mind.
And if you survive that emptying, that nothingness, that leads to resurrection.
Right. But it's a specific kind of resurrection. You don't just come back as you were. You come back as the locomotive.
I really enjoyed this metaphor, the locomotive. It feels so heavy, so industrial compared to princess.
It's great, isn't it? The locomotive represents that animus energy, the drive, the forward momentum. The goal of the princess is to internalize the locomotive. She has to realize she is the train.
Not the passenger waiting on the platform for a conductor to come save her.
She becomes the engine. But engines need fuel. And this brings us to the part of the document I found most surprising and, honestly, the most fun.
We need to talk about beer versus tea.
Yes. This is where the text grounds all that high-level Jungian psychology in physical reality. It calls it tribal wisdom.
It's amazing. Let's start with beer, because usually self-help guides tell you to drink green juice, not beer.
Not this one. In this framework, beer represents grounding, the tribe, the collective, the feeling of being at home in your body and on the earth. There's a fantastic phrase the text uses, Ich bin also Heimat ich.
I am, therefore I home.
Exactly. Beer is described as food or fuel for that locomotive. It provides a heavy, earthly, inclusive energy, the energy you need to flatten obstacles, to have grit.
So it's the energy of getting through the day and being with your people, but you can't run on beer alone.
No. If beer is the earth, tea is the sky, the mind. Tea represents the quiet places. The text explicitly links tea to libraries, to meditation, and to Marcel Proust.
Right, Proust and his Madeline using taste to unlock memory.
Correct. Tea is the tool for intellectual identity work. It opens the gates to the novel epic of your life. It allows for reflection.
So the sovereign heart isn't about choosing one or the other. It's not be a tea drinker or be a beer drinker.
No, it's about the oscillation. You need the beer energy to survive and drive the train, the animus. And you need the tea energy to read the map and understand the story, the anima. You need grit and grace.
This leads us to the final and maybe most complex layer. We've done psychology, we've done the body, now we have sociology. Niklas Luhmann.
The heavyweight champion of systems theory.
He is famously incredibly dense. Why is he in this document about heartbreak?
Because who we are isn't just internal, it's relational. Luhmann's theory argues that in modern society, identity isn't fixed. In the past, if you were born a peasant, you were a peasant. Your identity was given to you.
But today, we have to build it ourselves.
Constantly. Identity is fluid. It has to be validated through communication. And this is where Luhmann's definition of love comes in. He calls it glutenum mundi.
The glue of the world.
Yes. Because according to his theory, we are all separate consciousnesses. We're black boxes to each other. I can never truly know what you're thinking. Love is the mechanism, the glue, that makes this improbable connection possible.
But, and here's the catch, the text warns that you can't rely on that glue if your own structure is broken.
Exactly. If you're looking for love to create your identity, you're back in the projection trap, the demon lover. You have to have your own internal hierarchy in order first.
And the text proposes a specific structure. The pilot, the engine, and the direction. Can you map those out?
Sure. Think of it like that locomotive again. The pilot is the mind reason, rationality. The engine is the heart drive, emotion power. And the direction, that comes from the belly intuition, your gut feeling.
And when those three agree?
You reach flow. But, and this is the most important part, to maintain that flow, you have to accept ambivalence.
That feels counterintuitive. Doesn't that mean you're undecided?
In this context, it means you have to be able to hold contradictory feelings at the same time. You have to be able to feel grief and hope, anger and love, the desire for beer and the need for tea, all at once, without cracking.
That tension isn't a flaw.
It's the energy source. It's like the text says, shit happens isn't a defeat. It's just data to be processed.
So if we look at the whole journey of Princess Maria Sophie, it's a massive arc. She starts 2024 with a collapse, her projections shattered.
She moves through the mad woman phase, realizing her rage is actually her integrity.
She stops looking for a twin flame and instead internalizes that fire, the locomotive herself.
And she balances the beer and the tea, she grounds herself, but she also creates space for her intellect. She becomes a complete system.
And the destination, the text mentions nothingness, which usually sounds bleak, but here it sounds oddly hopeful.
It is incredibly hopeful. The text argues that once you stop fearing the void, the loss of the partner, the loss of the old self, that nothingness becomes fertile ground. It's where the unconscious, the it, can finally get to work.
It says the it will never disappoint you.
Because the it is your authentic life force. It's not a projection. The summary is that the madwoman transforms into the queen. She isn't crazy. She's just comprehensive. She contains multitudes.
She's learned to be the director of her own epic rather than a supporting character in someone else's script.
Precisely. And that brings us to the concept of the unknown lands.
Yes, I wanted to end on this. It feels like the most provocative part of the whole document.
The source suggests we're often afraid of the unknown because we feel incomplete. We're afraid to go into the dark because we think we need someone to hold the flashlight.
We think we need the partner, the animus, the guide.
But the text asks, what if you are the flashlight? If you stop projecting your power onto others, If you realize you are the locomotive and the pilot, the unknown stops being a threat. It becomes a frontier, a map waiting to be drawn.
So here's the question we want to leave you with today. We've talked about stones in the body, mad women in attics, and steam engines in the heart. But if you took this advice seriously, if you stopped looking for your missing half and realized you were already the whole system, what unknown land would you finally have the courage to map out?
That is the ultimate question of sovereignty.
Thanks for diving deep with us
It
today.
was a pleasure.